Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to go through the no calculator review portion of our midterm review, just so I can, hopefully maybe catch and answer some extra questions in here. So let's just get started. So function operations, remember, whenever you see a function with a multiplication like this, we actually just perform the operation. The fact that there is a parenthesis after f and g is just telling me what variable I'm using. If it stays the same, it stays the same. If this had changed to maybe a t, then it might be slightly different. But since it's not, we just use the functions as is. So I'm just going to distribute along all the terms. Sorry, I'm sitting a friend's dog as I'm making this, so say hi to Mikey. All right, so 2x cubed minus 11x squared plus 18x minus 9 is the answer for A. For part B, it's actually telling us what operations to perform. So 3 times g is 3x squared minus 12x plus 9 plus 6 times f squared. So if I multiply all my terms here, I just have to combine my like terms. So 3x squared, the x terms cancel, minus 9. C is a composition. So remember, this open circle doesn't mean multiply. It means plug one within the other. So I've got to take the g function and plug it within the h. So anywhere I see x in the h term, I'm going to replace it with the entirety of the g function. Now, one thing to remember, I don't have a problem like this here, but often we would talk about what's a domain restriction. Really important to remember, looking at all the possible domains of just G and the domain of H, and then comparing it, and you have to take what I like to call the most restrictive aspect of it. What part of the domain function has been restricted. So we can talk about it here, because I think that's part E. So part D, find H over F. This one's really nice, so you don't have to do a lot of work. Yeah, here it is, state the domain. So in part D, we want to state the domain of this function. So, I can look at this function as a whole, but we have to remember that h is a square root, meaning the square root of x plus 3 has to constantly be larger than 0, meaning that portion of the function has this domain restriction. And while f is okay by itself, the fact that it's in the denominator means that x cannot be equal to the value 3/2 anymore, because the function now creates a 0 down there. So we have to talk about the domain, starting with this component, but also removing the 3/2 function or value. So that would be the domain, because this part works, whoops, I didn't mean to hit that. This part works for the numerator, and the restriction of removing the 3/2 allows it to apply to the denominator as well. We talked about the circle equation, so you're just going to have to try to memorize this formula. X minus the x coordinate squared plus y minus the y center squared equals r squared. So just based on this information, I get x minus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals 16. Piecewise function. So again, we're just substituting in a value. Just want to make sure we know which three functions we are talking about. So function 1, x is less than -3, so plug that in. -4 squared minus 8. 16 minus 8 is 8. T of 0, that fits into the second function. That's it. 20, x has to be greater than 10, so negative absolute value of 20 minus 4. So absolute value is 16. So nothing special here, but minus 16 plus 2, so that's minus 14. And t of 10. Just be very aware that this has to be plugged in here. We are on the cusp between the second and the third function, but because the third function includes the 10, that's when we have to plug it into. So remember, that's how we want to read that. So -6 plus 2, which gets me -4. Okay, on to page 2. So this function here is an exact production of the function from number 3, the piecewise function. So we want to state the range of the function below. Now, what's important to realize is that there are two coordinates here that actually have a gap space. So remember that within the range, we're talking about how low versus how high. So it's important to understand that this part is equation 3, whereas this part is equation 2, this part is equation 1. So we can see that for part 1, it's going to go up forever, and part 3 is going to go down forever. So the general domain is going to be negative infinity. It's going to end with positive infinity, but there is a point where we got to figure out what gap did we lose. So we actually already solved this in part 3D. Let me clear this off here for a second. Here's my eraser. Okay, that this coordinate point right here is the coordinate 10, I believe it was 10, negative 4. So we know that negative 4 is the sort of highest that the lower portion of the function will go. But then we got to find where the function meets. So that would be at negative 3. Since both of these coordinate points are continuous here, meaning that they line up, I could plug it either into negative 3 into 1 or 2 to get that this point right here would have to be the coordinate negative 3, 1. So that would be my range. Oh, that should be a bracket. Okay, so hopefully I made this one a little bit harder, but just because, you know, if you just could tell from the graph where the coordinates would be, we wouldn't have to actually substitute them in, but it actually works to plug it in directly to get the exact values. Is this a function? Yes, if you remember, it passes what we call the vertical line test. And now we want to revise the function so it's continuous at all points. Well, what that means is that we basically want to keep, or we want to take this part of the function and translate it up to here. So you can see right here, this is the coordinate 10, 40. And if you remember previously, this was at the coordinate 10, negative 4. So I want to do a translation of plus, whoops, not 40, but plus 44 to take that y coordinate all the way up. So let's take this function and add 44 to actually make the translation work. And so that is a version of our translated function up. Next, what would be our possible transformations? Now, not all of them are here, but we know definitely for sure that this is a 1-up. We know this is a 3 to the right, which is not an option, so that's the case, but it doesn't show up. And this is a vertical stretch of 3. Just remember that if it's outside, it's a vertical. If it's inside, it's horizontal, but it does the opposite. So even though this is like a 2, for example, we would say it's a horizontal stretch or compression of 1/2. Just one of those things to be aware of. Now, end behavior. So even degree negative, that means go down in both. So as x goes to negative infinity, oh, that's not the right one. As x goes to infinity, goes to negative in both of those categories. Okay, and now finally we have to find the difference quotient. Hold on 1 second. Okay, and now we have to find the difference quotient. So remember, the difference quotient has a really specific formula. F of x plus h minus f of x over h. So this is f of x. So to find f of x plus h, we need to do some substitution wherever I see x. You have to distribute and FOIL this. Remember, it's not x squared plus h squared. So I get 6x squared plus 12xh plus 6h squared minus 4. So we have 6x squared plus 12xh plus 6h squared plus 4 minus 6x squared minus 4. That should be a minus 4, this part right there, over h. So the x squareds cancel, the 4s cancel. And I'm left with 12xh plus 6h squared over h. By canceling an h from each, I get 12x plus 6h. Okay, and our last one about properties of logs and evaluating logs. So remember, these can be thought as, we don't know what the answer is. If I convert it to an exponential form, what power of x is 20? What power of 3 is 27? So that's 3. Here, we know that the ln of e is just 1, so I really just end up with log base 2 of 8, which is, again, 3. Property of condensing logs. Always easier to convert using the power property first. Now rewrite it as a fraction, x over y to the 4th. And so let's keep going here, y to the 1/3 plus log base 6 of x cubed minus log base 6 of a to the 5th. And so when I rewrite this, I get log base 6 of y to the 1/3 x cubed, a to the 5th should be in the denominator. The only thing you should be aware of is that this right here, this term right here, is the cube root. It's a little bit of overlap there. And so that term would be the same in both cases, but it's easier to write as a cube root. And finally, this is an expansion one, so ln of e to the 6 plus ln of y to the e plus ln of z to the 3rd. Since it's all being multiplied, it's just plus. Now the only difference is this really just becomes 6. You should bring your exponents in front. Even though it's e, there really isn't anything to do with that since it's e is in front of the natural log. All right, almost done. So having to solve equations. So in this case, I can get exponentials on both sides with the same base. I can switch this to an exponent problem alone. I get 5. Here I can condense. I get x squared minus 6x equals 2. And now I can convert. So I get x squared minus 6x. That's 16, but if I subtract and factor, I get 2 solutions. Now, what's important to remember is that you cannot have a negative exponent or a negative value in a log. So negative 2 is actually not viable. So 8 is my only possible solution. This one is just, I think this one you have to use quadratic formula for. I don't believe this will be factorable. Yep. So 5 negative b plus or minus square root of b squared, so 25 squared, minus 4 times a c, that's 20. So that would be negative 20. So that would be plus 80 inside of here, all over 2a, which is just 2. So I get 5 plus or minus the square root of 105 over 2. That square root can't be simplified anymore. Here we factor to x minus 9, x plus 1. It's less than 0. Now remember, with something like this, this would be negative 1, this would be 9. I need to test those points. So I think it's just easier than trying to manually come up with answers. So if I make this 0, 10, and negative 10, I just need to see if something is less than 0. So if I plug in negative 10, I get negative, negative. This is positive here. If I plug in 0, I get negative 9 times positive 1, which is a negative. If I plug in 10, I get positive, positive. So I want all the values that are less than 0. So that would be on this interval specifically, from negative 1 to 9. Same thing here. Now, remember that vertical asymptotes cause a problem? So negative 3 is a point we have to consider. And when the numerator equals 0, that's a x-intercept, so that's at positive 3. So those are the 2 coordinates. Now, the only thing you got to remember is if negative 3 is a solution, we can't include it because it's a vertical asymptote. So again, I'm going to get some testing points on each side, 0, 5, and -5. So that went away. So if I plug 5 in, I get 2 over 8. So this is a positive term. If I plug in 0, I get -3 over positive 3, so that's a negative term. And then if I plug in -5, I get -8 over -2, so back to positive. So my key intervals are from -infinity up to -3. Now again, parenthesis, because we can't have a vertical asymptote answer, and then bracket 3 up to infinity. Okay, my last function, solving this equation within the context of the unit circle. In case you don't see it, it's up here in the instructions for the question. So divide both sides by 2. And so if I just think about where along my unit circle does cosine equal 1, well, it only happens at one spot where x equals 1, which is also the 2 pi angle. So there's only 2 answers. State and find all the zeros. So if you remember, we have what we call the rational root theorem. So you have to look at all the possible roots of 6, 1, 2, 3, 6, divided by all the possible roots of a. So, yep, my only options are plus and minus 2, 1, 2, plus minus 3, plus minus 6. So if I actually start testing my solutions, 1 works. So 1 is a root. So I get x minus 1 times whatever's left here. X squared plus x minus 6. And then I can factor the rest of this to be plus 3 minus 2. And so I can see all my roots at once, 1, 2, -3. Okay, and then finally, find the value of each of the functions. So using our unit circle knowledge. So sine of 4 pi over 3, well, that's over, that's wrong. That's in quadrant 3. That is the sine of pi over 3 angle, which, if you recall, is root 3 over 2. And since we remember all students take calculus, that would be negative. Cosecant, well, that would be the flip of the sine function at the pi over 6 angle, which is 1/2, but 11 pi 6 takes me into quad 4. So this would be the flip of -1/2, so -2. And then finally, again, within the domain for this function, tan inverse. So what angles equal -1? So in our unit circle, our values are between 0 and 2 pi. So my tan inverse value would be at 3 pi over 4 and 7 pi over 4, because those are the 2 angles that work. We had previously talked about the domain restriction for tangent. So remember, tangent is between -pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. So if I wanted it in terms of the graph, I'd have to convert 7 pi over 2 to its negative angle variant, which would be just -pi4. So this would work if we talked about the graph. This is within the context of our unit circle knowledge. Okay, I hope that was helpful for the non-calculator part. Next up, I'll have the calculator part. So if you have questions on that, I'll see you there.